Dear listeners, welcome to Whimsy Woven Stories, where Reddit's tales come alive in mesmerizing narratives.
It was an interesting evening. We had dinner at a decent restaurant and then decided to take the stairs and walk a little to a bar neither of us had been to, the Misty Shore Bar. We both worked at a renowned institution far from the city center. We had heard that the drinks at Misty Shore were substantial, the music was great, and the dance floor was spacious. I never tire of spending time with her, and tonight was no exception. In fact, it was more fun than usual because she had been drinking. She rarely drinks more than 2 glasses in one evening, but today she had 4. I don't know what made me want to drink that night, but as I said, it was very interesting. She was very happy when she was drunk, and I was curious how her drunkenness would affect our bed that night. I was looking forward to the chance to find out. We both liked to dance, as usual. When we went out, she was approached by a few men who wanted to dance with her, and then as usual, she refused them all. When we left the bar, she was struggling to put on her coat, hit her head with the bag she was holding in her hand, trying to put that hand into the sleeve of the coat, but failed, and then she got angry. Then she stumbled out the door and fell into my arms. I caught her, and she looked at me. She stumbled a few more times, but we still made it to the car. "You're my husband, right?" she asked as I was trying to get her into the car. "Yes, I am," I said with a smile. "I loved Tyler Jones," she said with a laugh, then giggled. "What did you say?" I looked at her, and she passed out. I took her home and put her to bed. Over the past 3 years, I often undressed her, and her body always amazed me. She likes to sleep naked, so I let her sleep like that. However, tonight was different. As I undressed her, I couldn't help but wonder if Tyler Jones, whoever he was, had ever undressed her, touched her buttocks. I hardly slept that night, but she did, waking up at noon the next day. I just made myself another cup of coffee. In fact, the word contemplate is too strong. I put a small bag into the coffee machine, pressed the button, and the coffee filled my cup. Then I added a little Bailey's, sat at the kitchen table and drank it. This was my 4th cup of the day. My usual limit is 2. Lenny, short for Leonore, walked into the kitchen still naked. She put the bag into the coffee machine, placed the cup under the dispenser, stood there waiting for her cup to fill. When it was full, she picked it up, came over and sat on the stool next to me. We sat there, sipping our coffee in silence. I spoke first. "Who is Tyler Jones?" "Who? Tyler Jones? I don't know." She just looked at me. "Are you sure?" I took a sip of coffee before saying, "Because last night, before you passed out, you told me you loved him." "What am I?" "You told me you loved him." "Andy is my nickname, short for Andrew." "I don't know what you're talking about." "I've known Lenny for almost 4 years, and we've been married for almost 3. I'm still a bartender. In fact, she's also a waitress at the same place we work. I'd been working there for over a year before she started. We try to get the same shifts, but it's not always the case. Sometimes I work for several days in a row, she works several nights in a row, and vice versa. Shortly after she started working, we went on our first date. Less than a month later, we made love for the first time, and since then, we've made love at least 4 times a week. I just looked at her. She spoke. Damn it, I was drunk. We've both seen enough drunks to know what they say, and most of it is true. I thought we sat there in silence, finished our coffee. "I'm going to change," she said with an important expression, picking up both of our cups, washing them as usual, then placing them in the sink to dry. In my mind, I saw Tyler Jones holding them, shaking them back and forth. We hardly spoke that day or that night. Some people think that living and working together puts a lot of pressure on a marriage, but it doesn't seem to be the case for us. However, the next 2 days were the same. At work, it seemed to me that Lenny was spending some unnecessary extra time with some of her customers, but maybe that was my imagination. Finally, I said, "Well, I've had enough. I either want our life back or this marriage is over." Lenny said, "I agree. I'm tired of you looking at me like you're wondering when I'll bring the next customer to the backyard. So, what are you thinking?" Well, the truth comes out when people are drunk. almost every civilization in the world has a similar saying because they've all experienced this fact. Lenny, you hear the truth from the mouths of children and drunks. You said I loved Tyler Jones. You had no reason to say that. I've never assumed you've slept with someone else after we got married, but coming out of your drunken mouth, it's as clear as day. I loved Tyler Jones. If it was before we got married, that's fine. If not, then we have a problem. Then we have a problem because I don't know why I would say that, or even if I really said it. You mean if you said that? Of course you said that. Why would I make up a name out of thin air, lie about something like this? Tell me why I should believe you, Andy. Obviously, you don't believe me, so it seems we're at an impasse. She said, yes, I think so. The impasse lasted another week. We both had cars. The cars were old models because we were saving up to buy a house, but I planned to surprise her with a new car for Christmas. But because of the impasse, we went to work separately on Thursday. When I came to work, I was waiting for her to appear, but another waitress was working at Lenny's table. I called the night manager Jill and asked why Katie was working at Lenny's table because she had called in sick this morning, and she didn't tell me anything. I said, maybe you two should communicate better. We're busy, I can't make a call, so I waited until everything calmed down. I took a break, and called her. No one answered, went straight to voicemail. It was 9:30 p.m., she didn't answer the phone. I looked up and saw Jill coming towards me. Jill, Lenny didn't answer the phone. I think I'd better go home and see what happened. It's a good idea. She just called and quit, saying she's not coming back. I have to go. I dialed the phone, took down the coat hook, buttoned up, protecting myself from the cold air. She still didn't answer the phone. I opened the door to our apartment and walked in. She wasn't there. While searching the apartment, I found that some of her clothes and a makeup bag were missing. It was close to midnight when I called her parents and asked if they had heard from Lenny. When her father answered, I asked, do we? She might be at Charlotte's. Andy, what happened? I told him the short version. You two better pack up before it's too late. I called Charlotte. She and Lenny have been best friends since childhood. No one answered the phone, so I left a message, asking Lenny to call me. Obviously, the impasse has been broken, and she has taken the first step. I've been thinking about what I could have done differently, but I always get the same result, nothing. She was drunk and said her words. I think I reacted like any ordinary husband. I lay in bed, trying to sleep, but without success. I got up, tried to eat, also without success. Around midnight, I called her brother. Sorry, Andy, I called Charlotte again. Hi, Andy, do you have any news about Lenny? I have one. Do you know where she is? She's with me. Can I talk to her? Not now. She's very angry, disappointed that you don't believe her. Believe her, when she admits or denies it. Don't be a. What should I do? Tell me what I should do. You can believe her, damn it. I'm just asking you, when she admits or denies it, do you believe her? You need to pull yourself together, Andy, or your marriage is over. Pull yourself together, she started to say. She needs to prove to me that she didn't sleep with this guy. How on earth would she do that? I don't know. Take a lie detector test. Swear.do not stack Bibles on me. I don't care how she does it. Maybe you should prove she did it, innocent until proven guilty, right? But she damn well confessed. I've told you, Andy, pull yourself together, or your marriage is over. She hung up the phone. Maybe you should prove she did it, that's what Charlotte said. I called the company at 11, Jill wasn't there, but the day manager was. I told him the story and told him I needed to get some rest. He had already heard some of this from Jill. What time is it now? At least a week, maybe more. I have a lot to figure out. You and Lenny were supposed to go back to work next week, but we can hold off for a while. Take 2 weeks, we'll count it during your vacation. If you need it, I'll handle Jill's stuff. When I had free time the first 2 days, I struggled to make sense of my new world. I tried to call her several times, but to no avail. Maybe you should prove she did it. I came up with a plan. It was a desperate plan, but it was a plan. I went to the library and looked through all the school yearbooks for the year we graduated from high school and for the 2 years before and after. I read every word on every page of every book, looking for any mention of anyone named Tyler Jones. It took me 3 whole days, but I found 3 of them. Back home, I checked online if their schools had reunion committees, and they did. They also had biographies of everyone, where they are now, and what they are doing. They even indicated most of their workplaces. The first Tyler Jones worked in Washington, D.C., so it would be difficult to communicate with him. It followed from his biography that after graduating from high school, he enrolled at Ohio State University and immediately after graduating from there went to Washington for an internship with some member of Congress. The other 2 still lived next door. One was selling cars. I called the car dealership, but as I understand, some car salesmen, like some truck drivers, tend to wander around the city, never staying in one place for long. So, I didn't know if he still worked at the same dealership listed in his biography. I was standing in the customer service area of a car dealership. Tyler Jones's workplace was listed there. A mechanic passed by, and I asked him if Tyler Jones still worked there. He did. Then I asked the same mechanic if he could tell me if he was nearby. He wasn't in the showroom, he was outside talking to a potential buyer. I thanked the mechanic and left. I knew I was taking a risk, but I left and came back shortly before they were supposed to close. I was lucky, he was still there when he left. I followed him. He stopped at a local bar near the car dealership and went inside. I waited a few minutes and followed him. There was an empty chair next to him, and I sat down, as men do in a bar. We got to talking. "I'm Andy Buckles," I said, holding out my hand to shake his. I watched his face to see if he noticed the name Tyler Jones. He said. We ended up spending a couple of hours chatting and buying each other drinks. This went on for 2 more evenings. We drank and chatted. This guy was courteous. I got the impression that he could talk anyone into anything. I bet he sold a lot of cars. He was funny, quick-witted, and handsome. I almost liked this guy. I decided that too many nights in a row might look weird, so I stopped for a while. I still had some free time, so I watched the third Tyler Jones. This guy was a TV news producer, but I couldn't get into the TV studio to see him. I made a copy of his prom photo and, like I did with another Tyler Jones, sat outside where he was working to see if I could spot him. It was only after 9 o'clock in the evening on the second day of my viewing that I recognized him. He gained about 45 kilograms, but nevertheless, it was him. There was a car waiting for him, and he got in, bent down, and gave the driver a long, slow kiss. They broke off the kiss, then kissed again, then the driver started to drive away. He turned his head to look over his shoulder at the movement. So, let's get back to talking about the other Jones. During our conversations at the bar, I found out he has been divorced for almost 3 years. I have 2 children. The divorce was mainly his fault as he had a drinking problem. His wife got tired of it, so she kicked him out. He misses the children but doesn't see them often. He still drinks but claims he hasn't been drunk since the divorce. He concluded that the reason he was always drunk was because she pushed him to it. She said, "Look at everyone on the Andy Griffith Show, they are all happy except for one. Do you know why? They are all alone. The only unhappy one is Otis. He's married, so he keeps drinking. Sometimes I almost forget who he is. If what he says is true, he has more charm than any 5 men I know, at least that's what he says. But I still need to find out the truth." There was never any sign that she was dissatisfied with our life or our daily routine. Of course, I am satisfied with both. Of course, I know she was harassed almost every day at work, but I never had a reason to think she took it seriously or took action. I have enough free time. I am ready to come back. I made a call and was told I was on the day shift and could come back the next day. I worked a full shift and felt good about coming back, although I found myself looking around, trying to find Lenny serving at the table. I still tried to talk to her, but it was useless. I started to wonder if she was doing something to save the marriage. I also wondered if she had ever dated other men. One night I was off, so I sat outside Charlotte's house waiting. Lenny and Charlotte came out, got into Lenny's car and drove away. I followed them but got stuck in traffic and lost them. I went back to Charlotte's house to wait, and about 3 hours later they came back with packages. I went out to approach them. Lenny, we need to talk. I just want to hear your apology, otherwise stay away from me, don't harass me, or I'll apply for a restraining order. Lenny, please listen to me, I have several options we can talk about. No, you listen to me, apologize or stay away from me, these are the only two options I'm interested in. They went into the house like this, I got in the car and drove away. I still work during the day and decided to come back to spend more nights with Jones, who is there about twice as often as I am. I assume he comes when no one else is available. It's been a few days since I last saw him, and we greeted each other like old friends. One night, we watched a couple come in, and we looked because the woman was wonderful in every way. If there is an ideal figure, she has it. If there is a perfect hairstyle, she has it. If there is a perfect dress, she is the one wearing it. Well, she was almost wearing it. It showed more of her than it hid, a deep V-neck both front and back, really deep V-neck. None of us spoke as we watched them walk to the table and sit down. When she sat down, she crossed her legs and the slit in her skirt revealed her legs, almost to the buttocks. My God, Jones whispered. I replied, I've had many women, but damn, she might be the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. He called the bartender over. Who is this guy? This is Mike and Vicky Houston. He is the kind of personal injury lawyer you see on TV. They come here from time to have a drink or two. He just likes to show off to us lower class people. I didn't pay attention to her because of him, but now I look at Andy and really recognize him from the TV commercials. Jane spoke up. My ex-wife wasn't bad either, but I've never been as close to having such a delightful thing as I am now. He nodded in the direction of Vicky Houston. It started a few months ago. What started? I asked. Yes, I walked into an establishment I had never been to before. My waitress was great, not the same kind as Vicky over there, but cool. My first time there was good. We chatted with her for a while, but nothing more. She was wearing an engagement ring, but that never stopped me. Many married women are looking for a strange man, some don't even know it. So I tried to help them and persuade them that every woman needs another man from time to time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I asked her if she was happy in her marriage. Of course, but it seems we are just working and going home, sometimes we go out to eat and dance. So sometimes he works at night and I work during the day, so I go out and have fun. My favorite is women who attend parties alone when their husbands are working. It's just a matter of time and opportunity. He took a sip of his drink and continued, when I went there for the fourth time, she agreed to come out for a drink. This drinking date led to other short dates. We had dinner a few times, we even went dancing. When we danced, oh my God, it didn't happen at first, but then she rubbed me with her whole body, and when she felt my erection, she started rubbing harder. It was interesting because we were doing what she and her husband said they were doing, and she looked completely satisfied. We had to be careful because of her husband, so we only met when they worked different shifts. If he worked during the day, that's when we met. One night, when he was working at night, it really got hot. I gasped. Lenny likes to dance, and we danced as much as possible. We even danced at work when there were no customers. The other staff always watched and clapped. So what happened? I asked. At that moment, a few other bar patrons began to listen to him. He didn't try to lower his voice, seemingly happy to have an audience. He laughed. One night we went dancing, and I wanted to touch her firm buttocks and other body parts. She seemed more friendly and asked if she was ready to be used. What did she say? She stopped snuggling up to me and thought for a few seconds. I thought I had made a mistake. She looked at me, and I knew she had made a decision. She smiled. I thought you would never ask, but we only have about 3 hours until my husband comes home. Husband, that's how Lenny referred to me. This guy is a great salesman. I feel like he could sell anything to anyone, and at least some of his story must be true. I started to really dislike him. We almost ran to my car and went to my apartment. He continued, she tripped on the stairs, and I caught a glimpse of what was under her skirt. I liked what I saw, and I reached out. She was wearing underwear, and they were soaked. My God, I mean soaked. It was then that I realized it was going to be a hot butt. She screamed and laughed, struggling to climb the stairs. 2 other men and 2 women joined his audience. I could understand the men listening to him, but the women surprised me. As we went upstairs, we didn't waste time on clothes. When she was completely naked, she stood there, and so did I. I just looked at every curve of her body, it was perfect. Her breasts, waist, and buttocks were perfectly proportioned. I looked at her, and a man nudged his companion. There's nothing new here. We all do this. His companion just looked at him and rolled his eyes, as if to say, dream on. After a long time, she called a stop, saying she needed a rest. I was too, my tongue, neck, and back were sore. I got drinks for both of us, and we lay in bed drinking. Soon, she bent down and began to play with herself. I was sweating too, but for a different reason. I looked around at those who were listening to him. 2 men were laughing, a couple was arguing. I heard a woman tell her partner that she could do the same thing as this fool, and the man suggested they give it a try. They ran out. A man came over and patted Jones on the back. Hey man, if you haven't slept with this girl yet, tell me her name. This caused new laughter and arguments. The woman next to him hit his arm and said, Really, you just gave up. She ran off with him. He tried to convince her that he was just joking. Another guy asked, Where does she work? Not working now, she's on vacation. Someone said, Would you take a vacation? Someone shouted, Tell me where she is, I'll talk to her. Lenny on vacation, as far as I know, has no job. The guy asked, Where is she? He looked at his watch, she's with her best friend now. My stomach jumped into my throat. You said she was married, where is her husband? I asked, probably at home masturbating. His small audience burst into a lot of laughter. I wanted to leave, but at the same time I needed to stay. I took out my phone and called Charlotte. She answered the phone with loud music in the background. Hi Andy, I can't talk now, we're busy. I heard a voice in the background, I'm sure it belonged to Lenny, telling him I was waiting for an apology, and there was laughter after she finished the call. Tyler Jones was a popular guy that night, spending more time talking about his exploits. He told his growing audience about his victorious stories. Men clapped for him, and women who listened scolded him, calling him a super student. Men wanted to believe him, but women mostly laughed. He claimed he stopped drinking after the divorce. In fact, his best friend started distributing stickers that said, I use Tyler Jones. These stickers even appeared on the walls of women's toilets in some less fashionable bars by the lake. This comment caught my attention. I made an excuse and walked towards the lake. I went straight to the Misty Bank bar. It was the night I was with Lenny, she said she had sex with Tyler Jones. I sat at the counter and ordered a drink, even though I didn't need it. It was already late and the place was crowded. I kept an eye on the toilets, especially the women's. People kept coming in and out. Finally, the place started to close. Drink up, Mike, it's time to go home, the bartender said. It's a sentence I've repeated many times. I hesitated to speak. I have, a rather strange request. What is it? I was talking with my friend, his name is Tyler Jones. He told me that I had sex with Tyler Jones, stickers in the women's toilets of bars everywhere. I don't believe him, so I want to know if they are here, and if possible, I want to see them for myself. He started laughing. His friend made a joke and did it for a while, and those stickers were popular for a while. I've never heard of a woman coming here asking for them for their girlfriends at wedding parties and so on. We still have some on the stall doors. Come on, I'll show you. We went to the door of the women's toilet, he knocked to make sure no one was there. We went in, and of course, there were stickers on both sides of the door and the 4 stall doors. I was relieved. If Lenny went to the bathroom, drunk, sat in one of the stalls, saw a sticker on the door, and then told me I had sex with Tyler Jones, she was just trying to tell me what she saw. It made sense to me. Lenny has been gone for more than a month, it couldn't be my Lenny. Jones may be able to persuade people to buy cars, but can he persuade a happily married wife to have sex? Can he? Can she? She would do that? It must be the sticker. She saw it and wanted to tell me. I started to feel better. I called Lenny, but she still didn't answer. I called Charlotte, just like the last time I called. Loud music rang in the background. What do you want, Andy? Her voice sounded a bit drunk. I need to talk to Lenny. She's not here. Where is she? It's none of your business. Is she with someone else? Well, it's none of your business. Please let her call me. Charlotte, okay, when I see her, I'll tell her. When will you see her? Maybe not tomorrow, later in the evening. Damn, I thought, I want to know if she's just teasing me. I hope that's it. Listen, tell her, if she's interested in saving this marriage, she can go to the Misty Coast bar and use their toilet. Did you hear what I said? I thought, if she wants to work hard, she can go there that night. On the other hand, if she's with someone else, almost noon the next day, my phone rang. It was Lenny. I didn't reply, but I read the message she left. I saw the sticker. I know what happened. Please call me. I turned it off and never turned it on again. She hadn't spoken to me for several weeks, so now it's my turn. I knew she still had the key to our apartment, so I slept behind the bar that night. I ignored her calls, just as she ignored mine, but it hurt me. I wanted to see her, hug her, tell her I love her. But at the same time, I also wanted her to suffer a little. The next day, I stood in the bar and heard a familiar voice ordering a drink. I turned around and saw Lenny in her uniform. I watched her reach into her apron pocket, take out something, and stick it on her uniform shirt. I want to use Andy's button, it said on the sticker. She must have written it quickly, in such a short time. She wore it all night, listening to a lot of teasing, noise, and screams. We just smiled at each other whenever we had the chance. Many people, men and women, cheered me on, come on Andy, or lucky bastard, or Andy in need. More than one man introduced himself to her as Andy's button. At the end of the night, the crowd thinned out. Some staff members started cleaning the place. Lenny and I made eye contact. I dried my hands, we went to meet each other, and met in the middle of the dance floor. Another couple was dancing, if you can call the physical contact dancing. I'm sorry, I said when we were only a few centimeters apart. I reached for the sticker on her apron, looked at it, laughed, and put it in my pocket. Me too, she said. When are you going to fix this sticker? I asked her, snuggling up to her. She held my face with both hands, kissed me deeply and gently, while snuggling up to me. Then I heard a familiar voice, she's here, this is my girl, this is Andy. Are you trying to steal my girlfriend? Lenny and I separated, just looking at each other. Her eyes were wide. Do I know him? I asked. She didn't answer. Tyler Jones grabbed her, pulled her towards him, and kissed her. After the kiss, he held her in his arm. I could see her eyes filled with panic and fear as she looked at me. When are you leaving here, baby? He asked softly, but his voice was loud enough for me and a few others to hear. She took a step towards me. Andy, I raised my hand to stop her. Then I spoke, all right, your wish has come true. What are you talking about? I took out the sticker from my pocket. You said you wanted to use me, and of course you did. I crumpled the sticker into a small ball and threw it at her feet. I went back to the bar and started cleaning. Andy, you're fired. She asked, what happened? Tyler Jones walked up to Lenny. Stay away from me. She pushed him away and walked towards me. Andy, that was just once. Please talk to me. What do you mean, once? This has been at least 6 months. Why did you tell Andy this? Come on, let's go. Let go of me. You didn't say that. I interjected. So this is the waitress you told me about? That was her friend. Now she wants to act high and mighty. I couldn't help but keep looking at Lenny, after Jones's last sentence. She just collapsed to the ground, in the place where she worked with me. He went up to her. Are you coming? She shook her head. Well, to hell with it. You can have her, Andy. She looks good, but not that good. No, you take her. I don't need her anymore. For over 3 years, she was my wife, but not for much longer. Your wife. My God, I have never seen anyone move so fast in my life. I shouted at him, "Hey, come back and take her. She's yours now." I don't want her. Jill, the night manager, walked up to her. "I think you should leave," he motioned to 2 other employees to take her out. My mind was filled with images of my wife and Jones, but at the same time, it had no thoughts, if that makes sense. I cleaned the bar like a robot, trying to deal with my emotions and worries. Jill came up to me. "Go home and rest, and call me when you're ready to come back." I did as he suggested. I went home. When I entered, I made sure to lock the door. She wouldn't come in to get her things until I was ready. Less than an hour later, I heard her turning the key in the lock, then a knock on the door. "Andy, let me in." "Please, Andy. Go away, you don't live here anymore." "Andy, please let me at least get some of my things." "Why did you leave with your makeup when they don't need any clothes, so everything is ready?" "I'm not like that." "Oh, yes, you are, you did this with another man." Her voice got louder. "Go away, you can come and get your things tomorrow. Before 10 o'clock, because by then, everything else you have will be in the trash can." "Andy, please you cheating bastard, get out of here." The knocking came a little before 9 o'clock the next morning. I looked through the small glass on the door. I didn't see Lenny, but I saw Charlotte. I opened the door. "What do you need?" "I've come to get Lenny's things." I pointed to the several trash bags I filled with her things. "Here, she can choose the furniture as she pleases, otherwise she will be removed from here in an hour." "She can't do that." "Why not?" "She's sick." "Is she not well? Did Peter disappear?" "Come on, Andy, she drank an entire bottle of vodka last night, she's in bad shape." "She's in bad shape? How do I look, Charlotte, you and her best friend, what did you help her sleep with, for whom, a good speaker, he described in detail to the audience how to take advantage of her, and then he came to her workplace, in front of her husband and about a dozen other witnesses, and announced that he needed her. Yes, she's really sick, and so are you. Now take her and leave here." She started moving the bags to the door. "You can tell her I want my grandmother's ring back." 3 days later, half of our furniture was gone, everything she liked, including our bed. I put it on the side of the road for anyone to take. I don't know if she had sex with Jones or anyone else in bed, so I dealt with it. Then there was a knock on the door. I looked back and it was Lenny. I let her in. "What's wrong?" she asked. "People are taking my furniture." "That's not in the bags Charlotte took, except for our wedding album that I threw away. She only kept your photos." She stood at the door. I pulled it opened the door, and pointed to the exit. She walked down the hallway with her head down and crying. I closed the door on our marriage and returned to work. It was hard to look at the dance floor where we had the argument. Jill, the night manager, was sitting at the bar. I poured him a glass of ice water. "You know, Andy, we have a bar and restaurant in the downtown Congress International Hotel called Ori Sky. There is live piano music every night there, and a small dance floor. If you want, we can transfer you there. It's more upscale here, and the salary is higher. In addition, it will get you away from here." 3 days later, I arrived at my new bar. I met the daytime manager, who introduced me to the staff before we opened that day. I had to start working for a few days. Those days meant we went to prepare the room at 10 o'clock in the morning, opened at 11 o'clock, and worked until 7 o'clock in the evening. The night shift started at 7 o'clock in the evening and worked until closing, usually around 2 o'clock in the morning, but sometimes it lasted longer. The Congress Hotel is very upscale, and I really like it there. The day before my new job, I initiated the divorce proceedings and decided to stop shaving and grew a beard. Lenny and I didn't have much. When I checked our bank account online, I found that more than half of the money was gone. Lenny probably got advice from Charlotte. "Oh well, the court will give it to her anyway." Then I did the usual thing like a credit card. I said MAP, because we only had one. I canceled it and applied for a new account, and until I received the card, I could only use cash. The phone was registered in her name, so I also opened an account for it. She received the service at Charlotte's house. I don't know what her reaction was. One day, it suddenly occurred to me that Jones said he had taken advantage of Lenny at least 6 times. I needed to see a doctor. I didn't have any symptoms, but I didn't know what the symptoms of sexually transmitted diseases were and what their incubation periods were at that time. The results were bad. I had syphilis. I wanted to kill her. I've already said that I would never hurt her, but when I found out I had syphilis, all bets were off. I could have easily strangled her, let alone that jerk Jones. I can never blame a man or a woman, but actively looking for married men and women is absolutely disgusting. To do this, you need to be a certain type of garbage, and then so carelessly infect them, which is unspeakable. I started calling Lenny to tell her how I felt about her giving me syphilis, but what's the use? A few days later, her brother knocked on my door. I just came back from getting vaccinated for sexually transmitted diseases. I let him in. You cheated on my sister, and now she has these things. I'm going to kill you. There was an intent to kill in his eyes, and he scared me. Hey, Tiger, I said, stepping back from him. If you're talking about sexually transmitted diseases, then the facts are exactly the opposite. Your sister cheated on me at least with one man, and she infected me. That's a lie. She said you would say that. I'm going to kick your ass. He started walking towards me, and I started backing up, but there was really nowhere to go. Well, I said, as calmly as possible, before you do that, a dozen or more witnesses heard the man say that he took advantage of her at least 6 times, and she didn't deny it. Then she told me that she did it just for fun. Fun, Jimmy, that's his name. She cheated on me with a worthless person, just for fun. Charlotte helped her. I helped her. Damn it, I encouraged her. He looked calmer. Jimmy has had some trouble in life. He served time for assault, so I know he wouldn't hesitate to beat me half to death. I know you have no reason to believe me over your sister, but you know me, you know I'm not a liar, of course, not a traitor. You need to talk to Tyler Jones. I told him where Jones worked, and if you have any influence over your sister, you will try to keep her away from Charlotte. I've been trying for years, but she won't listen to me. He stared at me, not wanting to believe it, but a few seconds later, he turned and left. 4 days later, I read in the newspaper I left at the bar that a potential car buyer was test driving a new car. He was accompanied by salesman Tyler Jones. The potential buyer stopped the car, saying he heard a voice. They both got out of the car, and there he almost beat Jones to death. He left Jones by the roadside and returned the car to the dealer. The news report said that Jones was likely to lose his testicles, but he might never have a hemorrhoid problem, because the tire iron stuck in his ass would solve that problem. The article didn't say exactly, but there was definitely an implication. The newspaper quoted a police statement. Mr. Jones is a local Casanova, who has been considered the cause of several marital breakdowns over the past few years. Blood tests showed that he had several different sexually transmitted diseases, including syphilis and gonorrhea. Keep going, Jimmy, and anyone who infected Jones with these diseases. I laughed as I read the article. I wonder how many Lenny has. The same newspaper reported that Miss Charlotte Williams's trailer was completely destroyed by fire. The trailer was uninsured and became a total loss. One day, I will have a serious talk with Jimmy about his anger management issues, and then I will buy him a few drinks. I briefly thought about where Charlotte would live now, and whether Lenny would move in with her. Then I realized I don't care. I look forward to the police questioning Jones. I was questioned, but nothing happened. I have an impression that finding the person who beat him up and chasing pedestrians on the street has about the same priority. Over time, I have grown to like my new hairstyle more and more. I also like my new beard. At first I messed it up a bit, but I decided to cut it off. After I did, I received a lot of comments from Custom told me that after Charlotte's trailer burned down, he and Lenny rented a furnished house in the same trailer park. He told me that during his several companionship with Lenny, her opinion of me was inconsistent. When she was sober, I was a complete jerk, but when she had a little drink, there were a lot of tears and thoughts about how to get me back. Charlotte kept telling her that I wasn't worth it. But again, when she was drunk, Lenny defended me, admitting that it was all her fault. He also shared an anecdote that both Lenny and Charlotte blamed me for what happened with Jones. I asked him if Jones had visited them. No, he said. I think he called Lenny a few times before he got beaten up, but she wasn't interested. He also said that Lenny was working as a waitress and gave me a name. The next day off, I went there. I went in and saw her serving tables with my new beard. I thought she wouldn't recognize me. She moved between the tables as efficiently as ever, joking openly with the customers. Twice I saw her pull her hand from her butt, something she had to do almost all her life as a barmaid. I could also see and hear her joking with them, either she was talking or they were. But when she turned her back to them, the smile disappeared and a hint of sadness appeared on her face. When she started chatting with another customer, the smile came back. I didn't know why I was there watching her, so I left. When I was on the night shift, Lenny came in with a man. She looked like she had lost a few pounds. As far as I knew, she didn't know I was working there. I took a piece of paper from under the counter and wrote a note. I don't know if you know that the woman next to you cheated on her husband and gave him a sexually transmitted disease. Please take the risk at your own peril. I came out from behind the counter from time to time and walked to where I could see the dining area, during the break between the salad and the first course. I saw Lenny excuse herself to the ladies' room. I folded the note and walked to their table. I'm sorry, sir, I said, but someone gave me this to give to you. I handed him the note. When I got back to the bar, he had already left the restaurant. I went back to where I could see their table. I saw Lenny sit down and pick up the note that her date had left there for her to see. She seemed to read it, crumpled it up, stood up, and left. She walked past me 3 meters without recognizing me, but I could see the tears in her eyes. Their waitress stood by their table, holding their main course, not knowing what to do. I went up to her and said, "They both left, but I know where you can send the bill." I enjoyed writing the note and watching the result, but another part of me thought it was a cheap trick that only a jerk would do. I don't think I'll do it again. Once is enough. The call came 2 days later, from Lenny. "I know it was you, you know who I am, you sent a note." I lied and said, "I don't know what you're talking about. Every time I get a new job, someone calls and says I have a sexually transmitted disease, and I get fired. When I meet a man, someone tells him I'm a liar, I have a sexually transmitted disease. What does this have to do with me? It's you. I know it's you. I know you hate me, but please, please stop doing this. I have to work. I need a job. Andy, why do you think it's me? I haven't talked to you in a long time, and I don't know where you work, so you're barking up the wrong tree. It could be Tyler. He said you were the best he ever had, which makes me doubt he didn't have many, because as far as I know, you're always a bit mediocre. No, I'm not sleeping with him, and that's also because of you. Did she say she would sleep with him if she could? I caused him to be beaten up, and now he can't have sex anymore. Oh, that's too bad. I said as sarcastically as possible, maybe you can find someone else to infect you, or you can infect them, just like you infected me. You and her hung up the phone. I laughed. I did give her dinner companion a note, but the others were not from me. Maybe it was Jones. Maybe he's getting revenge. But I would think he's most likely to take revenge on the person who beat him up. If I were in his position, would think it's me, not her. Then I thought about what I just said to her. So far, I haven't tried to arrange a date, or even talked to any woman, but suddenly, it's time. 3 days later, a couple came. They were dressed appropriately, like professionals. They had dinner in the restaurant and then went to the bar for a drink and to listen to music. Their waitress brought them their first round of drinks, and while the woman was in the ladies' room, I saw the man put something in her drink and then picked up the glass and turned it over. I went to the table and said, "I'm sorry, I mixed up the drinks. It's my fault, so I'll replace them." I took the 2 glasses, went to the back of the counter, and set them aside. I made 2 of the same drinks, waited for the woman to come back, and served them. Then I called the manager over and told her what I had done. She called the police, and after the couple finished their drinks, the man ordered another round. 2 police officers came in through the back door and went straight to the manager's office. The manager pointed to a surveillance camera that was just facing this table. I served the drinks myself. A few minutes later, the woman went to the pianist and made a request. The camera recorded the man throwing something into her drink while she was talking to the pianist. Once it was in the glass, the 2 police officers came out and took him to the office. They also took the drinks I had placed behind the counter. They asked the lady to follow them to the manager's office, and then they all left through the back door. 2 days later, I was getting ready to start work. It was before 7 p.m. I put on my official work shirt, bow tie, and vest in the staff, and the manager told me someone was waiting for me. She was sitting alone at the far end of the bar, drinking iced tea since 5 p.m. He said, "Oh, great, I thought Lenny was back." I went out and stood behind the counter, and the day shift bartender patted me on the shoulder, nodding in the direction of the woman. I looked, and it wasn't Lenny. I didn't know who she was. I took a towel from the bar, wiped my hands, flung it over my shoulder as I usually do, and then approached her. "Hi," I said, as casually as possible. "I understand you've been waiting for me." She smiled and said yes. "My name is Dana Alexander, and I must thank you for saving me from a jerk who tried to drug me, not once but twice." "Oh, I didn't recognize you. Are you okay?" "Yes, thanks to you. I would have been in big trouble if it weren't for you." "It was nothing for me." "Jerk, people like that should be in prison." "Well, he is, or at least until he's out on bail." "I guess your husband doesn't need a date rape drug, so he must be a boyfriend." "No," she said, "he's a colleague. Or he was, until the company found out what he did and fired him." "Have you been dating for long?" "No, this was the first time. He was a great guy at work. He was hired 6 months ago, but he only started pursuing me 2 weeks ago. I have a rule, I never meet up with colleagues, but he wore me down." "Did you have any signs that he would try to drug you with illegal drugs?" "No, dinner was great, and he behaved like a real gentleman. He was pleasant and intelligent in the office, not to mention, I thought he looked really great." "Well, it's all over now." No, she said, "we still have to face him in court." She laughed, "Yes, we do. You can be sure you'll be summoned as a witness." "I didn't think of that." "No problem, putting someone like that behind bars is not a problem for me." Dana Alexander sat at the bar for a long time before leaving, and we talked as much as possible between customers. I found out that she and the one who tried to drug her are both architects. If I could go to college, that's what I would want to be. She thanked me again and said goodbye, saying I'll see you again. A few days later, an employee from the district attorney's office came to see me. He wanted to discuss my appearance in the trial of that jerk. In the following weeks, I had several meetings with him and several other employees from the district attorney's office. In the meantime, I met a few women who became my regular companions. I was with both of them for about 3 months, without any exclusive claims. If I spent the night with one, the other was fine because she knew the next night was hers. One night, they were sitting in the bar when a woman and 2 men came in. The 3 of them sat down, drank for a few hours, and danced for a while. Their affections were free and easy because she kissed both of them equally. My 2 girls, Judy and Anna, danced with them when they were invited. Between dances, a lot of our attention was focused on these 3 people. It was Judy who first mentioned the old movie, Paint Your Wagon, where a woman has 2 husbands, so she felt there was nothing wrong with what the 3 of them were doing. Then Anna suggested that it would be fun to have 2 men at the same time. "Andy, would you be okay with a threesome?" Judy asked me. I said with a smile, "It depends on whether the 3 of us will be together." Then I walked away to serve a customer. When I came back to the girls, they were whispering. "What do you mean?" Anna asked. "Well, being involved in a MMF, male-male-female, threesome is not on my bucket list." However, just then, I walked away to help another customer and chatted with him for a few minutes. Judy interrupted us by tapping a glass on the counter. "We need some service here," she said, laughing. I grinned, took the towel from my shoulder, and slowly walked back to them, wiping the counter as I went. They were sitting on bar stools, but now they were both leaning on the counter, as close to me as possible. When I got to them, Judy whispered, but I grinned again and leaned in close to both of them. However, I don't know of any straight man who would turn down the opportunity to have sex with 2 women in a threesome. I answered in a low voice. They looked at me, then at each other, and then leaned back in their chairs. Girls, would you like another drink? I'm buying. They said they needed to leave and refused. I was busy all night. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning, and when I got home, I took a shower, dried off, and went to the bedroom to sleep. I had just dropped the towel on the floor and was about to jump into bed when there was a knock on my door. I grabbed a towel, wrapped it around my waist, opened the door. We brought some food, Anna said, walking past me with Judy following. They had both been to my apartment several times and had actually stayed over on different occasions. Yes, we thought you might be hungry, Judy giggled. I looked at the two of them, they looked enthusiastic. What did you say about food? Anna asked. You said we brought some food. There's a difference, right? Judy said, starting to unbutton her shirt. She undid it, she wasn't wearing a bra. Hey, that's convenient, Anna laughed, pointing to my towel. It looks like he's waiting for us. Judy said. Anna brought her lips as close to mine as possible without actually touching them, then sighed instead of speaking. Andy, have you been waiting for us? She asked. Then she kissed me, while reaching out to loosen my towel, letting it fall to the floor. My knees buckled. Judy stood on one side of me, Anna on the other. They took my hands and pushed me back towards the bedroom. I felt my feet touch the edge of the bed, and they pushed me back until I was sitting. Judy took off her shirt. Anna was wearing a shirt, she pulled it over her head. She wasn't wearing a bra either. My gaze flickered between a pair of breasts. Judy reached out. We didn't bring any food, but you can eat this, Anna added, placing her hands on both sides of her breasts and shaking them back and forth. Oh, look, Judy said, he's happy to see us. She pushed me back so that my feet were still on the ground, but my back was on the bed. She took off her jeans and underwear, and Anna did the same. The rest of that night was nothing but paradise. The double bed that I thought was too big turned out to be perfect. We 3 were together for about 3 months, but then Judy went on a cruise trip with her sorority sisters and came back smitten with a junior officer on the ship. Anna got a promotion at her company and was transferred to Phoenix. I will miss them, but at the same time, I was also relieved. I needed a break. A few months after the girls and I were together, the trial of the guy who tried to rape on a date started. I testified as a witness for the prosecution, and the jerk was sentenced to 5 years in prison. I hope his cellmate is a big jerk. The trial only lasted 1 day. I saw Dana Alexander there, and we had a brief conversation. One night, Bryce walked into the bar, smiling and telling me that Lenny and Charlotte's friendship was over. One night, they were both drunk and started arguing. Lenny accused Charlotte of leading her into temptation, leading to the divorce. Charlotte eventually left in a drunken state and hit another car less than a block from home, went through the fence, and crashed into a house. She totaled her uninsured car. Apparently, she didn't like insurance because her trailer was also uninsured. She was sentenced to 6 months in prison for drunk driving, driving without insurance, and hit and run. She also lost her driver's license for a year. I told Bryce that I was no longer interested in Lenny or Charlotte, and I thought this part of life was over. I was promoted to day manager at work, so I no longer worked at night unless necessary to replace the night manager when she was off, and she did the same for me. One Wednesday night, we had a particularly busy group of guests, so we were very busy. We like to be busy in the restaurant and bar business, which means people are eating and drinking. I was sitting at the far end of the bar with a glass of ice water when I felt someone pat my shoulder. I turned around and saw Dana Alexander. I stood up and turned to her. Good evening, I said, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and you? I'm also fine, thank you. What can I do for you? No, really, we just stopped by for dinner, and I wanted to say hello. Okay, enjoy. I watched her join a couple, and then the 3 of them went into the restaurant. Later in the evening, I helped a lady get her too drunk husband out the door and into a taxi. I reminded myself to talk to our waiter about taking care of the guests. I watched the taxi drive away, turned back, and almost bumped into Dana. I've been looking for you, she said. I'm right here, you can see. Still taking care of people, I see. It's just part of the job, I said, with an exaggerated Texas accent. Look, I don't want to cause trouble, to be honest. I've never done this before, but are you interested in having a drink with me sometime as a thank you? She added. I just looked at her. Among all the things I could think of, Dana Alexander's date invitation never occurred to me. I'm sorry, I put you in an awkward situation. You may be married or in a relationship, so please forgive me. She was about to leave. Hey, wait a minute. I grabbed her arm and turned her around to face me. I'm not married, nor am I in a relationship. It's just that I've never had a beautiful woman ask me out, and I'm actually still in shock. I'd be happy to have a drink with you. She smiled and said, Great. How about Friday, or do you work on Fridays? Friday would be perfect. When and where should I pick you up? Since I invited you, I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock. Tell me where to go. I gave her my address. I was ready at 7 o'clock, and when she arrived, I didn't know what to wear. For the first time in my life, I understood how a woman feels on a first date. I chose casual pants and a sports jacket, and wore a tie. Do you mind if we go from drinks to dinner? She asked. I missed lunch today, so that's fine. That's my answer. We went to a good restaurant, had dinner, danced, and she drove me home. When we arrived, she got out of the car as if to accompany me to the door. I decided that it was enough to thank you, so I told her she didn't need to accompany me to the door. How can I kiss you goodnight? She asked. I walked to her side of the car door. I can handle it, I told her. I hugged her, thanked her for the beautiful night, and then I kissed her, not on the cheek, but on the lips. She got in the car and drove away. I literally floated up the stairs to my apartment, wondering how lucky I was. However, my good mood was short-lived when I realized that I had not received her phone number, as I usually do. I undressed, emptied all my pockets, including the jacket pocket. I reached into the left pocket of my jacket and pulled out a business card. It was Dana's, and on the back, she had written her mobile number. She must have slipped it in while we were dancing. It was a business card, so it had her company's name and address on it. I didn't call her over the weekend, but on Monday morning, I ordered 24 roses to be delivered to her office at 1 p.m. I took a call from the bar. Horizon may not be the loudest name in the world, but it is one of the best and most popular nightlife spots in the city. The first person who opened this place served on the USS Oriskany during World War II, so he named his place after the ship. There is even a large ship model behind the bar. Is this Andy? Yes, hello, this is Dana. I just received some beautiful roses, thank you. You're welcome, my dear. After a slight pause, I spoke again. I'll call you later to see if you'd like to have dinner with me again. I'd like that. When did you say? Well, today is Monday, and Friday is usually a big date. How about tomorrow? She laughed. I don't know where you developed your logic, but tomorrow sounds great. She gave me her address and asked if 7 o'clock was convenient. It was a nice house in a very good area, and we had another very pleasant evening. Over the next few weeks, we met at least 3 times a week. I found out that she divorced after a 5-year marriage because they just didn't love each other anymore. They are still good friends. In fact, she said they are better now than when they were married, and now he lives on the West Coast. The house she lives in was their home, and she got it in the divorce. I almost felt sorry for the poor guy, who is still paying the mortgage on a beautiful house he can't live in. When Dana and I first made love in our bed, I felt worse when we took a shower together in the same shower they shared. We had been together for about 6 months, we laughed, joked, met often, and every time we went out, I was grateful that I worked all day, except when, as I said, the night manager was free. I would usually call her to see when she wanted to go out again. I'm sorry, Andy, but my ex-husband is in town, and I'm going to have dinner with him. Okay, of course, have fun. I stammered. My first thought was that she told me they just didn't love each other anymore, and they are better now than when they were married. I waited 2 days to call her again. Andy Clive, that's her ex-husband's name. We are still here, we are discussing some things. In addition, my company has a new construction completion line we are designing. I have to check some numbers. I am in a difficult position. I have no reason to believe she is with Clive, but I also have no reason to believe Lenny cheated. The difference is that Lenny and I were married, but Dana and I were not. I don't have to like it, but she is free to sleep with anyone. However, a part of me wants to know the truth, and a part of me wants to ask her, but the rest of me doesn't want to know if she has slept with him. I called her, and the call went straight to voicemail. I called her office. I'm sorry, Miss Alexander is currently unavailable. Would you like to leave a message? No message. A week passed. I called her again from the manager's office. She replied, hello, we haven't spoken in over a week. I just wanted to know, Andy, I've been very busy lately. Let me ask you a question. Is Clive still in town? Why do you ask this? Why does he worry you? I just said it outright. Did you sleep with him? The next thing I heard was silence. When she ended the call, it basically told me everything I needed to know. I went back to the dining room and kitchen to see how things were going. I was sulky until the end of my shift. As usual, I went home, emptied my pockets, undressed, and took a shower. After the shower, I put on a bathrobe, poured myself a gin and tonic, and sat down to watch the news. I sat in my big armchair, leaned back, pressed the power button on the remote control, took a sip of the drink, and then someone knocked on the door with such force as if it was going to fly off the hinges. I stood up, put down the glass, opened the door. Dana Alexander rushed into the room and started saying, "You are a jerk, you are an insensitive jerk. I am a free woman over 21 years old, damn it, I can do whatever the hell I want to do, and no insecure jerk will change that. Just like it's your right to sleep with your ex-husband and another 20 people." I raised my hand to interrupt her. Wait, let's clarify one thing. She stood there looking at me. What are you talking about? You just said I have the right to sleep with your ex-husband and another 20 people, and I told you I don't want that. That's what you said. That's exactly what you meant. Oh, okay, fine. Go ahead with your speech. She took a deep breath. The point is you can't tell me who to sleep with, just like I can't tell you who to sleep with. I don't want to sleep with anyone, only you. You didn't. What do you mean, I didn't? You don't want to now, if you sleep with your ex-husband and another 20 people. Damn it, I won't sleep with anyone, only you. That's what I've been trying to tell you. So, where have you been more this week? I've been working, our construction plan is behind schedule, and if we don't finish on time, we will be fined. You didn't have time to accompany me, but you had time for Clive? We are working on a deal to buy my house. He is getting remarried and can't afford 2 houses, so he wanted to know if I would take over the payments and buy it. I don't have to do this because the divorce gave me the right to do so, but I think there's no reason to continue to harass him, and I can afford it, so we made an agreement that I would pay off the mortgage, and he would pay a certain amount every month until it's paid off. Everything is civilized, as I told you, he and I are still friends now. We just don't love each other anymore. Does he live with you now? Are you going to be this jealous for the rest of our lives? Yes, he lives with my sister, about 4 kilometers from my house. Have you ever slept with him? It's a stupid question. Of course, I slept with him. He was my husband. She retorted with some of my sarcasm. I mean, did you sleep with him this time when he was here? No, I did not sleep with him. What about the other 20 men, you idiot? Pour me a drink and take off your clothes, and I'll tell you who I've been sleeping with.
Thank you for listening. Please share your opinion about this story in comment section. Also make sure to like and subscribe to the channel.